testimonial for me because he wanted to encourage more business leaders to tell stories. Yeah, just like the same message to all your audience who are listening to this podcast. Embrace storytelling in your business scenario.
Absolutely. I love this example. And I think many leaders are so good in talking to people, and they know how to be engaging on a personal level. They know how to be, compelling, inspiring. But when the additional level of this public speaking comes to play, sometimes, or many of them get very tense. This is what we have trained as trainers. We are used to many eyes watching every movement that we make. But it seems not to be a natural skill for many people. So I agree with you, rehearsal, but with a good story at the back of your head. That's the point. So what are some of the common misunderstandings around storytelling? I already mentioned one that is, fluffy and emotional. I think we face that. Is there any other, doubts that you come across that people share with you? Maybe we can just, address some of them here.
I think the first one, I don't have stories to tell. My life, it's so normal. Have you heard about that?
Yeah, that's the one that I am using so frequently.
I have the same misunderstanding before I started to learn storytelling, because I thought, I was just average person. No, I didn't experience like major events. I was not successful. I didn't experience major setback, like the threat of the death or serious disease. So I don't have stories to tell.
Yes, I haven't almost been eaten by a lion. So what shall I talk about?
Yeah. But after I learned about storytelling, and after I tried storytelling in my own life, I realized that as long as you feel that experience is meaningful for you, it could be designed into a good story. For example, I joined Toastmasters in 2004. I started to compete like in 2013, and I won China's champion in Toastmasters public speaking contest in 2014. At the time, I was telling a story about the conflict between me and my mother-in-law.
Mm-hmm.
In Asian culture, it's a very common conflict. I'm not sure how about in Europe.
I think it's a universal area of tensions.
Yes. So it's not like a major event. It's just like a conflict, wife with the mother-in-law. And I was talking about, my mother-in-law was a perfectionist. She was so picking on me. And no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't reach I couldn't meet her standard. And I started to complain about that. And then also the conflict between me and my mother-in-law escalated into between me and my husband. And at that moment, I realized I had to change. And then one small incident happened is like my mother-in-law, she had like severe cold. One time she was coughing so much and she wanted to cut her toenails one day. And she was sitting on the sofa, but she just couldn't barely make it. And at that moment, I just, okay, let me help her. So I just knelt down. I took over her nail clipper and help her cut her toenails. And that small action totally changed our relationship. And she was become suddenly much nicer to me and totally accepted me. And I felt the love between us. She was after that, she still gave me some suggestions, but it's not like criticism. It's more of like, I say, a sandwich style. She would compliment first and give me suggestion and give me encouragement. So I shared that story in my speech contest in 2014. And the message is the power of change is love. Because we always want to change others, but actually the power of change is love. And I remember I delivered that speech in 2014. Like even in 2022, 23, some people still approach me and say, Yingdan, I listened to your story about you and the mother-in-law. And can you share with me the video link? Because my friend had a similar problem. I want to forward your speech to him or her. So it's very it's very interesting. Just one story I told, which is like 10 years ago, and people still remember.
That's amazing. I really love that. Yes, and I think it's really about what sense you make out of the story. Yes, the kind of a conclusion, the little reflection that you are drawing out of it. In a way, a story is just a story, but the real key to a powerful story is what sense you make of it.
Yes, this also comes to my other point. I think storytelling is not only good for persuading others, but also help you discover yourself. Because sometimes things happen to us. We didn't sit down and reflect what meaning I get from this incident or this experience, and what growth I get from this experience. So you asking about the misunderstanding. I talk about everybody, you will have some story elements. You have some good elements, and you just need to use the storytelling skill to craft your story. And but your question also let me think of another thing about self-discovery. So the story is not only about persuading others, because we need to internalize what happened to us. You connect the dots, you can discover the true self, like what you're really passionate about, what are your strengths, what are your values. And when you are certain about the meaning of story to yourself, then you will be able to tell the story to others. So self-discovery is also a very important thing for us. So even though it's not about misunderstanding, I think this is about something people are not aware at this moment.
Yes, I would agree with you so much. I remember a colleague who I had in my work when I was a junior trainer, junior consultant in a large company. I think he was 30 years older than, than myself. And he rarely offered advice, but he frequently offered stories. And sometimes, in the beginning, I was a bit puzzled. What does he mean? And then I understood that by sharing the story, he not only gives me the most precious gift of, disclosing himself and caring about our relationship, but also that he lets me find my own solution basing on his discovery. I was so impressed. And actually, his example helps me consider myself as worthy enough to share stories to people. Nowadays, when I'm also older than some others, sometimes I think, aren't stories the core of mentorship? The core of relationship building, the core of learning from other people. We say that 20% of learning comes from, is this social learning, yes, learning from other people. How much of it comes through stories, yes, through the real experience that somebody shares with us. I love that. And the story that we tell about ourselves, now so many people suffer from mental health challenges, yes? And the question is, what is the story that you are telling about yourself? Are you a victim of depression, or are you the winner because you're able to function day by day, yes? That's a very important narrative. I fully agree with you.
I like your summary. And also, I would like to share with you one sentence I always share with my audience, that the words you speak to yourself determine the kind of a person you become. And the words you speak to others determine the kind of people you attract.
That's very interesting. I love that too. And I'm so curious. You actually wrote a book when you were in China, but now you are in the US. How do you see the storytelling in these two countries? Are there similarities, differences? Is the, how to say, validity of stories different across cultures?
I would say stories are important and well received both in US and in China. So this is a universal thing, it's a universal tool. However, the key messages or the standpoints you want to convey through your stories could be different based on the culture of the audience. So for example, like in US, if you watch